Hi, hello friends, welcome to a channel. This video is about a month in the making. I've been researching this company for a long time. The first thing I want to start off by saying though, it has nothing to do with any of this, but every single video that I make, people ask about my makeup, so if you have any questions about what's on my face, I'm gonna start from here on out. On every video I make, I'm gonna just have it in the description, so y'all don't have to ask anymore. Also, it's raining today, and I do have all the windows and doors open in my house, so sorry if there's background noise. But the company we're researching today isn't one that was really on my to-do list until very recently. Basically, you see, what had happened was an old high school friend of mine, or someone, I mean, I would more so call her an acquaintance. She started posting back either at the end of December or beginning of January. She just like one day randomly sent me a video of her reading an excerpt from like a personal growth book. I don't know, it was like a 6-minute long video or something. And I was like, well, this is weird because I hadn't talked to her for a really long time. I was like, this is really strange. So I just left that, right? I didn't respond. I was like, hey, that's super weird. I got an invitation to her Facebook group, which was like her business page. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And at that point, I messaged her and I shut that shit down because hello, I'm kind of the most anti-MLM person that lives. And I'm honestly shocked that either she didn't know or she just thought she was gonna convert me or something. But I don't know how, if you're someone that I know personally, I don't know how you wouldn't know that I have the standpoint on MLMs that I do, but regardless. Anyway, it was about something called Team Diamond Global Network. 4 words that, you know, are very specific to MLMs and how they operate. I'm like, okay, what MLM is this? So when I Googled Team Diamond Global Network, it seemed as though it was pretty much a group made to look like a support network for young or emerging entrepreneurs who needed help with their business, who needed support from like-minded people. But I quickly discovered that under this disguise is actually just like a funnel system into the MLM called Zija.
Since joining Zija, I'm just grateful for what this company's done for me.
I'm gonna move up in the ranks and I'm gonna be on that stage.
We're creating a whole new movement in this Team Diamond in Zija.
Now, I had never heard of Zija up until this point. Upon further inspection though, I found out that they're another one of those wellness and fitness kind of MLMs, which this particular person that I know, she has lost some weight lately, and even before she was with Zija, and she looks great, she seems happy. That's great, that's amazing. So it's kind of fitting that she would slide into one of these kind of MLMs, but unfortunately these kind of wellness MLMs are some of the most predatory ones. They have products containing moringa that they say is a unique proprietary blend that you can't get anywhere else, along with everything under the sun, from weight loss systems to hand soaps to face creams to essential oils, which are listed under a tab called culinary, and that's such a red flag, I can't even whatever. But on their website, you'll also notice that there's a tab under the shop drop-down menu that says Isagenix. Wait a minute. I've obviously heard of Isagenix. If you've been in the anti-MLM community for more than 30 seconds, you've heard of Isagenix. How the heck are these two linked? Well, it turns out that sometime in mid-January, Isagenix actually bought out Zija.
We are excited to announce that Isagenix International has just acquired Zija International.
The two are merging. According to a video that they posted on the Isagenix website, they're basically combining all 5 bazillion products of Zija and Isagenix into one company. The ranks in Zija aren't being changed or reset, but instead they're just being kind of, well, I guess they are changing a little bit. They're like going into Isagenix terms, right?
We're going to allow your organizational structure to remain intact. So for all of you that have been doing the work over the months or years, that work is going to be rewarded as your base to start in Isagenix.
This isn't an overnight process, and from my perspective, it doesn't look like the two have been fully merged yet. But with that factoid hanging over my head, I decided to just scrap Zija and just do Isagenix, since it really wouldn't make sense anyway, since Zija is pretty much just going to be operating under Isagenix now. So anyway, it is weird though, because when you go to Zija's website, which they are still separate, they're hosting some of Isagenix products, but when you go to Isagenix website, they're not hosting any of Zija's. That will likely change, but let's be honest, there's probably more to the merger than they're letting on that we just don't know. Anyway, that's how I got here. Alrighty, let's talk Isagenix. I was surprised to learn that Isagenix is based out of my home state of Arizona, which is weird because we're not Utah. It was founded in 2002 by 3 people. First, we have John Anderson, who spent decades in the supplement formulating industry. He partnered with Jim and Kathy Coover, a husband and wife team that, between the two of them, have over 50 years of experience in direct sales. It's weird though because everywhere you read about these people, there's not much information on their past businesses at all. Kathy's bio boasts that she became the top earner in 3 different MLM companies, but I found an article from 2005 in the Network Marketing Magazine, which apparently is a thing, which claims she made it to the top of 4 MLMs. I don't know, the information is sketchy. How can you mess that up? According to this article, which is basically just an interview with Kathy, she says she was involved with Prime Quest in 1992, which literally has no good information that I can find on it at all. When I Googled it, their website led me to one of those like, congratulations, you won websites. So that's weird. But she claims she got in on the ground level of this company, skyrocketed to the top of the ranks. Typical, got in early, everyone else signed up underneath her. Sounds about right. When Prime Quest was sold to new owners, Kathy jumped ship to another MLM called the Tax People, where again, she got in early, skyrocketed to the top, and she's quoted as saying the following about this company. This is in this article/interview. I would have stayed with the company if it hadn't been shut down by the government. Yeah, I know. I know. Her second experience in an MLM ended because the Tax People was shut down for deceptive sales practices and false claims. The word pyramid got thrown around in there, here or there, but in the end it was just referred to as deceptive consumer practices. But for the sake of Kathy's pride, she was also quoted in this article as saying the following. Oh, this is a really good try not to laugh challenge too. As I'm reading this, try not to laugh. I truly believe the reason they got shut down was because the government did not like us informing other people of all the tax deductions you're entitled to when you have a home-based business. It was all legal tax deductions that we were giving, IRS tax code. We had 2,000 tax offices all over the United States, but they didn't like it, so they came in and shut the company down. Sure, Kathy. Then she says 6 months later she jumped into another MLM, which she just says was a travel program, but she doesn't mention the name of it, so I wasn't able to really find any information on this. She claims that she made it to the top of the company in 6 weeks, but then she was knocked off her throne again. And I'm starting to think here that Kathy is just the queen of excuses, because this time she blamed 9/11 for this travel company being shut down. Sure, blame an American tragedy on the reason why your company failed, Kathy. Like, come on. As for her husband, Jim, he's referred to as a pioneer of the health and wellness industry. That's a little extra considering that literally no website lists any of his like credentials, educational background, how he got started in formulating supplements. Sketchy, but whatever. So he's the co-founder of the Cambridge diet, aka the 1-to-1 diet. John Anderson was also involved in formulating products for this company, so these two worked together. This is likely how the two met. This was back in the 80s. The actual diet, I'm pretty sure I remember reading it was made in the 60s, but in the 80s, John Anderson and Jim got together and made an MLM out of it. In 1983, the company filed for bankruptcy after the FDA forced them to stop sales from ads that claimed that they would experience no side effects at all. This is because there were 6 reported deaths on people who participated in the Cambridge diet, and over 180 cases of people who reported falling ill after following the diet. The nutritionally inadequate diet consisted of only 330 calories a day, which is essentially starvation. Jim was the pioneer of the health and wellness industry with the diet that he co-founded, had a heavy hand in killing 6 people. Okay. And actually the Cambridge diet still exists as an MLM today, but obviously the formulations have all been changed. It's referred to now as the 1-to-1 diet. But the meal plans are obviously different, although their website still says that their products usually are less than 200 calories each. Anyway, this is where Isagenix begins. In 2002, the company is launched, and since then they've grown into a billion-dollar company with their weight loss and wellness products. This is not to say that the company hasn't been involved in a bit of a controversy or two, though. In 2010, the Environmental Research Center, or ERC, filed 3 complaints against Isagenix for violating California's Proposition 65, which requires companies to put warning labels on their products when they were found to contain certain chemicals. Isagenix had a multitude of products that were found to naturally contain lead. Now, before we all start freaking out about lead poisoning with Isagenix, it needs to be noted that lead is found naturally in a lot of the foods we eat. In small amounts, of course, obviously. Isagenix argued that they shouldn't have to comply with Prop 65. This resulted in a lawsuit. But I couldn't find a conclusion to this lawsuit online anywhere, but this was between the ERC and Isagenix. And the lawsuit says, ERC's notices of violation and the complaint allege that use of the covered products exposed persons in California to lead without first providing clear and reasonable warnings in violation of California Health and Safety Code, Section 25249.6. Isagenix denies all material allegations contained in the notices of violation and complaint, and specifically denies that the covered products required a Proposition 65 warning or otherwise caused harm to any person. Long story short, the ERC was like, hey Isagenix, you need to tell your customers that there's naturally occurring lead in your products. And Isagenix was like, la 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 la, I'm not listening! And then the ERC was like, alright, see you in court. Now, according to an FAQ on Isagenix website, they say they already had been complying with Prop 65 before this lawsuit, but if that's the case, like, why would the ERC send 3 different violation notices and take them to court for it, you know? Like, they don't just do that for no reason. Some things just don't add up for sure, but apparently they settled under private terms in 2013, so this is pretty much just like a part in history that I thought was important just to mention that it happened. I don't think that Isagenix was intentionally adding lead to their products or anything like that. I just think it was very childish for them to ignore 3 notices of violation and get all huffy puffy when California's all like, can you just like tell people there's lead in your products? Like, that's all we're asking you to do. Can you just chill? Just like comply. Comply. It's not that hard. In 2017, an article was published on Choice, an Australian consumer advocacy group, where Dr. Tim Crow, a practicing nutritionist, said the following about Isagenix products. There's nothing new here. It's a supplement diet that's basically very low calorie, and these have been around for years. He also says that in comparison to other similar products on the market, these Isagenix products are very overpriced. Isagenix includes herbal supplements in their products, which many consultants will claim that that's the big difference between Isagenix and its competitors. But according to Dr. Crow, he says there's little evidence at all to suggest that most of the additives that have been thrown into Isagenix products even do anything. Dr. Crow actually suggests that the actual weight loss comes from replacing 2 to 3 meals a day with a nutritional shake. There's not a doubt in my mind that Isagenix products will help you lose weight just because of basic human anatomy, how our bodies work. If you burn more calories in a day than you consume, yeah, you're gonna lose weight either way, no matter what you're eating. It's just no secret that these products are so overpriced for what they are, and this is obviously common within every MLM because every upline needs their bonuses, right? Another claim by Isagenix is that their program helps to detoxify the body. Now, this is a big word in their marketing. Most of us by now know that our bodies are built to detoxify themselves, right? Like, this isn't a secret anymore. Detox diets are not supported by scientific evidence. So I'm gonna take a little bit of a sidebar here and talk about kind of how the FDA works with like vitamin and supplements. It's really interesting, and it all just kind of can be tied back into Isagenix. The Dream podcast, which I'm sure we all know about by now, right? If you haven't listened to the Dream podcast, it's a very good anti-MLM podcast. I'm pretty sure Jane Marie, the podcast host, was on This American Life, so she's like got a journalist background and stuff. It's really great, and I do recommend listening to it. But they just wrapped up their 2nd season, and one episode with like a few other episodes kind of sprinkled in there touched on the vitamin and supplement industry, and here are some key points that I take away from it that I think are relevant to Isagenix and how they are run. This applies to Arbonne and It Works and Young Living even, you know. In the Dream podcast, they interviewed scientific journalist and author Catherine Price, who gave some really interesting details and information about all of this. The rise of the vitamin and supplement industry expanded in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. There are actually over 87,000 vitamin and supplement products on the US market today. Using celebrity endorsements, these companies started cultivating a cultural distrust against Big Pharma. In response, the FDA started to try to regulate these products, and the supplement industry was all like, no! They pushed back hard. They got some legislation passed in the 70s by accepting a bunch of money from lobbyists that essentially protected the supplement industry from regulation in the pursuit of personal freedom and liberty. Meanwhile, the FDA couldn't create a system of consistency. Senators had financial interest in the industry, so of course they would continue to vote against the FDA. In the 80s, an American public health crisis triggered a new investigation in Hawaii after people began coming down with a neurological condition called EMS, and it was linked to a supplement that people were taking in Hawaii that contained L-tryptophan. Now, because of the supplement, 40 people died, and the FDA and Congress actually came together for a moment, and they said that the health claims that the company put out on the bottle were enticing customers to buy it, resulting in more illnesses and deaths. So while they weren't able to take L-tryptophan off of the market entirely, they were at least able to get a bill passed where supplements had to have a nutritional label. In 1994, a new law called the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, or DSHEA, was passed, and since then the FDA has pretty much had no control whatsoever over any vitamins or supplements ever. While DSHEA sounds good in theory, critics of the bill say it's dangerous because it doesn't require these products to be tested or proven safe before they're put on the market. So it's like the opposite of drugs. If a new pharmaceutical drug is wanting to be put onto the market, they have to test it extensively, have studies, prove that it works before it's offered to a consumer. So this is pretty backwards the way the vitamin and supplement industry do it. What's even more ridiculous is that under the law, they're supposed to have proof that the health claims on the bottle are true, but they don't have to submit it to the FDA. But on the off chance that the FDA does decide to come poking around, they have to be able to present that scientific evidence to back it all up by law, but this isn't enforced well, simply because the FDA just doesn't have the manpower to go poke around in manufacturing plants. There are 87,000 vitamin and supplement products on the market. They cannot investigate every single one. And limiting the FDA has had its consequences. In 2013, a product called Oxy Elite Pro was found to be causing liver failure, and this is their second formula. They had changed the formula once already because the formula before was giving people heart problems. But Hawaii state officials tried to contact the FDA, and the FDA was like, I have no idea what's going on. And they had never even heard of Oxy Elite Pro. Meanwhile, there was a lack of blood transfusions and organs available for donating. The FDA was left scrambling. They really couldn't do what they needed to do. They're not allowed to make companies list side effects and drug interactions on their labels. So for example, St. John's wort reacts with a ton of prescription drugs, most famously birth control, and it can cause your body to reject a donated organ. So many supplements contain St. John's wort, but the labels on these products don't necessarily have to reflect any of these side effects. So it might say, hey, there's St. John's wort in this, but unless you go digging for information on what drugs it's going to interact with, you don't know. Also, sometimes you'll hear these wellness products referred to as a proprietary blend in their ingredients, but they won't actually list what those ingredients are. So one main problem with this is if you go to a doctor with a health problem and they say, hey, what have you been putting in your body? And you say, I've been putting this shit in my body, and the ingredients list just says proprietary blend, the doctor doesn't know what's in that. So it's harder to diagnose you and to help you when you're putting stuff in your body that you don't know what it is. That's scary. So while the average consumer might assume that there's some kind of watchdog, looking over the vitamin and supplement industry, there really isn't. There's actually a ton of propaganda against Big Pharma, but since supplements are supposed to be natural or herbal and more affordable, let's be honest, at least in this country anyway, consumers think that they're better. My rebuttal to that is always like, oh, if it's natural, it doesn't mean it's good for you. Poison ivy is natural, it doesn't mean you should be eating it. Anyway, the wellness industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Fact of the matter is that the FDA just doesn't have the manpower to deal with it. The other thing is that a lot of the ingredients used in each one of these products, they may be imported from somewhere else, having been cultivated differently, having been harvested differently, differently, different parts of the plant being used instead of like the leaves instead of the stem or something. You know, you just don't know. Now, for anyone who's watching this and has an interest in supplements and things like that, there is a website called consumerlab.com. They randomly pull these wellness products and test them to see what they actually contain, as well as seeing if it dissolves in your body the way it's supposed to. They do quality checks. They see if there's overages or underages, is that a word? I don't know, of whatever ingredients are supposed to be in there. Unwelcomed ingredients, stimulants, antidepressants, steroids, etc. All those things that I just listed are things that they have found unwelcomed in a lot of different products. Now, Consumer Lab is a subscription service, but if you're into herbal supplements, this is probably something worth checking out at least, because at the end of the day, Big Pharma has to do rigorous testing to prove themselves to the FDA. It's insane that supplements, vitamins, wellness products do not have to do this. So that's just a brief history of what's going on in the wellness industry. And I'm not saying that Isagenix is one of these companies that are being dishonest about what's in their formulas, but what I am saying is that they could easily get away with it if they wanted to, and that's just something to keep in mind. Not even just with Isagenix, with any supplement you're taking. Now, if you're watching this video and you don't consider yourself a member of the anti-MLM movement, you may be doing your own due diligence in researching the company for yourself after receiving a DM from an old high school friend, or being propositioned by your Aunt Karen or something like that to try this opportunity that changed their lives and can change yours too. It's likely you've heard a sales pitch or two, but you're wondering if these products work. Are they worth the money? Are they right for you? Dr. Harriett Hall, MD, a retired family practitioner, is someone's name who came up a lot while I was researching. She has posted many articles and papers debunking Isagenix, essentially. Her first paper was in 2006 after a friend of hers was propositioned by the head of her own weight loss group, claiming that Isagenix could detox your body and give you incredible nutrition. She says that the moment she went to Isagenix website, it's all misinformation, unsupported claims, testimonials, and money-making ploys. This is a statement from someone who spent a large portion of her life researching, practicing medicine, reading peer-reviewed scientific studies on a multitude of medical products. So you may say, oh my god, that article is almost 15 years old, Isagenix is so different now. But is it really though? Because Harriett Hall says in the article that Isagenix marketing was pushing toxins and detoxifying, and it still is to this day.
One of the biggest threats to our health is our own environment. Some toxins are easy to spot. However, most are either invisible or undetectable to the average person. Scientific research suggests that the Isagenix system supports the body's natural detoxification process.
The scare tactics they use here, it's obviously a money-making ploy, and this is 11 years after Dr. Hall's very first research on Isagenix was published. I just realized that Eddie's head is in the frame. You're so sweet. I love you so much. Alright, so they still seem like they're doing the same old stuff. In fact, they have a whole Cleanse for Life system, which they claim to be a life-changing beverage that supports the body's detoxification process. And then they have an article about the detoxification process, which when I read it, it sounds like a lot of overinflated quack science, but what do I know? I am simply a layman in these kind of terms, so I could be wrong, but everything I've read on their website about detoxing just seems off to me. I'll take it from an MD though, thanks Karen. Dr. Hall has this to say about Isagenix website. They engage in scaremongering about toxins, but provide no data to show that the tiny amounts we ingest lead to any significant adverse health effects. They also provide no evidence that their treatment actually removes any toxins from the body, or that doing so would have any significant impact on health. Regarding their weight loss claims, there actually is a study done on Isagenix products from 2012, but it was funded by Isagenix. And at least one of the researchers is claimed to have had ties with Isagenix. So red flag number one, if the manufacturer is the one paying for the clinical study, there's a higher chance of them generating positive results. We've seen this many times in the medical industry with many different products. Bias aside, Dr. Hall says that the study has a lot of inconsistencies, and the whole article is linked down below if you guys want to read it. But first of all, despite the claim that the study is peer-reviewed, Dr. Hall says it clearly wasn't reviewed thoroughly. She also expressed concerns that they had to pay $1,800 to publish this, and the site that they published it on is considered a low-impact open access online journal. So in other words, it's definitely not the most legitimate place you could publish a clinical study. The study participants were all obese women between the ages of 35 and 65. No men, no young women, no overweight but obese women. Wouldn't you want to have diversity in a clinical study? Like, at least throw some obese men in there too. And while Isagenix has a bazillion products, this study focused on just the isoline shake, paired with intermittent fasting, which I don't know much about it, but it seems to be an understudied diet, and we don't really have much proof that there are any advantages to doing it over a very low calorie diet and like constant calorie restriction and stuff, which is a proven way to lose weight. Hall just says that this is an unnecessary complication to have even added to the study in the first place. It didn't seem to make sense for it to be there. I'm not gonna go through all the numbers and statistics because quite frankly, it's boring and there's a lot of them, but in conclusion, Dr. Hall says, the results are uninterpretable. The study does nothing to suggest that the Isagenix system has any advantage over the calorie-restricted diets. Neither does it tell us anything about the possible benefits of intermittent fasting. Now, there is a research tab on Isagenix's website where there are some more studies listed. Being someone who has no medical training or experience, I can't interpret these studies into anything meaningful, but according to another article that I've also linked down below, and they list all of their credible sources there, they claim that their studies from 2016 to 2017 were, again, all funded by Isagenix. Regarding these studies, the article says, these studies had very low sample sizes and conflicts of interest. Also, the participants were permitted to choose their diet, which may have introduced bias and affected the results. In other words, take all of this research with a grain of salt, like a big grain of salt. Next time you hear someone in Isagenix saying like, oh, we have clinical studies that prove blah, 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 this is the kind of stuff they're talking about. Inconsistent studies funded by Isagenix themselves. Dr. Hall says there's no rationale for the particular ingredients thrown into their products. She says some of these we know to be useless, some are potentially harmful, and we have no idea how the particular ingredients in the mixtures might interact for better or for worse. Speaking of ingredients, I found another academic paper that goes through many of Isagenix products and calls out their false claims. Isagenix claims on their website, as a policy, Isagenix makes every effort to use only non-GMO or GMO-free ingredients in its products. The company diligently seeks out suppliers that adhere to their own policies for avoiding GMO crops as sources for their raw materials, including any additives or processing aids. So it sounds like, you know, we don't even go near GMOs. Like, not even our suppliers can use anything that's a GMO, you know? Well, according to this paper, and I verified this claim by looking at the product's ingredients for myself, that their slim cakes contain canola oil, which you can't make without GMOs. I am no GMO expert, nor do I even think that they're necessarily a bad thing, but the problem here is just false advertising. The paper links many other academic papers and studies that further suggest that canola oil isn't exactly good for you either. You can read them if you want. Either way, if you're gonna claim on your website that you make every effort to not use GMOs, then why would you choose canola oil over like any other oil that can be used from non-GMO products? This same paper calls out Isagenix for the use of soy lecithin? Is that how you say it? I don't know. And then in their statement that they made about it, they made health claims about regular lecithin, which apparently lecithin and soy lecithin are two different things. So either Isagenix is unaware of the differences between the two, which I find after years and years and years of formulating wellness products, Mr. Anderson, why wouldn't you know the difference between the two? Either that or they're just using this tactic to confuse the consumer. Again, I'm not an expert on this stuff, and you can find the source in the description if you want to read it. This paper contains a lot more claims on the ingredients that Isagenix chooses to use, including agave nectar, palm kernel oil, synthetic vitamins, potassium sorbate, xanthan gum, and more. So while Isagenix claims that their health is their #1 priority, the ingredients they choose may be telling a different story. Now, I will say, I've seen these particular ingredients listed on many foods that we all regularly consume, and I think we all know by now that there's a lot of stuff that maybe we should not be eating. But the problem is that the nature of Isagenix products and the claims that they're making just don't line up with the ingredients they're choosing to use. While we're still on the topic of ingredients, let's go back to Dr. Hall for a minute. She had a few things to say about ingredients as well, and I can't verify that the following product is still on sale with Isagenix because she doesn't didn't mention which product this is by name, so I wasn't able to go search it. She says there was a product labeled as no caffeine added, and then when you look at the ingredients, they add green tea to it, which has caffeine. That's false advertising as I see it, but again, maybe they fixed that specific labeling mishap by now, who knows. At the time of this article's conception, there was also an antioxidant mixture that contained an insane amount of vitamin A, which overconsumption of has been linked to many health conditions, according to Dr. Hall, and that particular product just doesn't seem to be sold with them anymore, but I found it important to reference because, again, John Anderson, one of the 3 founders, has been formulating Isagenix products for years, and I think he probably still plays a heavy hand in formulating these products. How are you making such dangerous mistakes when you've been formulating these products for so long? And obviously this has been going on since the beginning of his career with the Cambridge diet. You know, 20-30 years later, he's still making some rookie mistakes. And what's to say now that like what he's formulated now don't have their own kind of issues with them, you know? What new problems can arise from their current formulas? What ingredients haven't been studied enough to know what kind of drug interactions they have, or even how they interact with other ingredients? One other thing to note, and this is according to Dr. Hall again, and many other medical professionals for that matter, very low calorie diets are often just a temporary weight loss solution. You can do Isagenix weight loss system, whatever, sure. Say you do their basic 30-day program and you stick to it the way that you're supposed to. After those 30 days are up, you can't just go back to your old habits or you're gonna put that weight back on. So you'll be left to continue investing in Isagenix, which is extremely expensive, which basically means a lifetime of maintaining your weight by depriving your body of its urge to eat actual food and just drinking shakes forever. It's not as sustainable as these people trying to make it sound. I mean, sure, you could do it, but you would be miserable. Just about any medical professional will tell you that the best thing you can do to maintain a healthy weight is to learn to make better food choices and incorporate exercise into your daily routine. This is something that you can maintain long term. And that's why most respectable doctors don't sit there and tell you, hey, you need to get Isagenix. Instead, they want to teach you good habits that you can use for the rest of your life. Their goal is to keep you healthy, not to temporarily feed you some weight loss shakes. So keep this in mind if you're ever wanting to start a weight loss journey. You don't need the help of any MLM to do it. Not Isagenix, not Beachbody, not Arbonne, not It Works, Herbalife, any of those. You don't need them. They're unnecessary, and statistically, they're just likely to drain your bank account. Oh, speaking of statistics, I think it's time to jump into the business opportunity! On the Isagenix website, they boast that you can boost your potential income, join a community of leaders, and embrace a growing opportunity. Sounds about right for an MLM. Their compensation plan is like 12 or 13 pages long, so I'll just try to hit on the points that I think are most important. First of all, I love to look at income disclosure statements, and Isagenix is unique to any other MLM I've researched because their income disclosure, not their compensation plan, but their income disclosure is surprisingly kind of honest and easy to interpret in comparison to many other income disclosure statements I've ever seen. Only 20% of all Isagenix members received a commission in this year, but this is because they claim that that number is also including customers who are not signed up to sell the product. Now, the problem I see here is that it doesn't give us any information on how many people fall into that 80% who are signed up as distributors but just didn't make any money. It's entirely possible that, let's say for a hypothetical example, that 50% of all of the people involved in Isagenix, customers or not, let's say that 50% of them are signed up as distributors. But according to this income disclosure statement, only 20% of distributors received an income, meaning that a majority of distributors would have made no money. Again, this is hypothetical just to explain my point, but they don't provide a statistic on this. We don't know how many Isagenix members are also distributors, so this may or may not be misleading. As of 2017, which is the latest data we have, there's almost 400,000 members, so 390,000 members altogether. But as stated earlier, only 20% of those members received commission that year, or about 78,000 people. So the rest of this income disclosure statistics are talking specifically about this group of 78,000, and there's no other statistics on the rest of its members. So from here on out, we're talking about the 78,000 people. According to the income disclosure statement, about 50% of these people made less than $337 in 1 year. The other 50% obviously made more. But the median for yearly earnings in the top 50% was $985. So basically what this means is that over 75% of these people made less than $1,000 a year. The average of the top 50% is $6,237, which means that there are a very small amount of top earners at the top that are skewing the average much higher than the median. 1% of commissioning associates made over $40,000, or about 780 people. 254 of those people are millionaires. 254 people out of almost 400,000. You know what I've never understood? Is that the Huns always like to be like, oh, network marketing produces more millionaires than any other industry. And I call such BS on that because, like, where are the statistics for that? Looking at income disclosure statements, it's not true. There's no way. But I've never seen a statistic that supports this. I don't know why all the Huns say it. I don't care if you're a Hun. I don't care if you're one of my anti-MLM followers. I don't care. Please someone tell me where this information comes from because I have no idea and I call BS. So, like, especially when you see statistics like this, 254 people out of 390,000 is 0.06% of all members, or 0.3% of all commissionable associates. I don't know about you, but that isn't an impressive number to me, especially considering that there's definitely a group of commissionable associates in that 50% of members that didn't receive a check. There has to be. I don't know this for sure, but it doesn't say either way on the income disclosure statement, and I'm just sitting here saying there has to be. And we'll get into why I think that later. Like, we'll get into the details here because the actual compensation plan is very confusing. As usual with every income disclosure statement, there's this kind of statement included near the bottom of the page. It says, earning representations reflect gross amounts that do not include any business expenses associated with pursuing the opportunity. Associates are responsible for their own business expenses, and these expenses will vary greatly. There's also a section that describes a few key points about the business opportunity. 1, it does not require a significant investment in inventory, sales tools, or other materials, and you can set your own hours and workplace. Significant investment. Who are you to say, Isagenix, what is a significant amount of money to somebody? 2, may be rewarding, but like any worthwhile business venture, results vary widely depending on many factors, including your skill, effort, time, demographics, and even luck. Now, this may be the first MLM I've ever seen that admits that luck is involved with becoming successful in an MLM. Or demographics for that matter. They really don't want to get sued for this compensation plan. 3, does not offer quick riches or guarantees of success. Building any long-term business is challenging, and relatively few achieve significant long-term financial success. I have to say that after reading this income disclosure statement, I can respect how upfront they're being about the earning potential in this company. The numbers still basically line up with just about any other MLM out there. They're no better, you know, but at least they're not trying to hide the fact that the opportunity just sucks. So how does an Isagenix associate get paid? So we can finally start picking apart this 12-page compensation plan, okay? As with every MLM, they claim that their compensation is one of the best in the industry. Yeah, they all say that. Now, the bullshittery that is Isagenix compensation plan had my head absolutely spinning. I watched so many videos, and every single one of them, the person was all like, oh my god, it's so simple. I mean, if you don't have a general understanding of how MLMs work, how other MLMs are doing things, then maybe there isn't much to be confused about because you don't have anything to compare it to, right? Maybe you're overwhelmed, yeah, because this compensation plan is bullshit, but you're probably not necessarily confused. Now, I have studied many compensation plans in my day, and many income disclosure statements from multiple MLMs, and none of them are quite as blatantly pyramid schemey as Isagenix. First of all, we all know this first general part. If you're signed up with an MLM, that will usually include getting a discount from retail prices, or wholesale pricing is what they call it. This makes it possible to buy physical inventory at the discounted wholesale price and then sell it for a 25% markup, which would be your retail profit. Now, not many people operate their network marketing businesses in this way. Typically, you usually receive profits from someone purchasing product from your online store, And in every MLM I've researched, they usually just give you a percentage of the money they spent. Isagenix does this differently. And I have to give a shout out to
Anti-Shampoo Dealer
on Instagram who reached out to me to try to help me understand this part of the compensation plan. They actually went so far as to message a top hun in disguise with Isagenix and just was like, can you please explain, like, here are our questions, can you please explain this? And she literally just linked her to one of the videos that I had already been watching multiple times to try to understand this, and it still didn't answer the questions I had. So if a top Isagenix distributor can't even answer what should be simple questions, what does that say about the compensation plan? Anyway, let's say, for example, that a customer wants to purchase their organic greens from your Isagenix website. The retail price for this is $49.32. Now, according to their compensation plan, the profit that you will make from this is calculated by subtracting the wholesale cost from the retail cost and subtracting an administrative fee of $4.95. So the wholesale price is $36.99. So you would subtract that and the $4.95 from $49.32. After everything is said and done, you will have made $7.38. Now, honestly, that is a low payout compared to other MLMs. And from what I understand, I don't know if I'm right or wrong about this, but that $4.95 administration fee is per item, not per transaction. But that would be insane, right? That has to be wrong. I don't know. There's so much. But if that ain't money grubbing, I don't know what is. I honestly have not even heard of an MLM that has an administration fee. Like, why? What is the point? There's also some items on their website that don't list a wholesale preferred customer price, so I'm wondering if they just give you 25% of that sale. I don't know why they hide the wholesale prices on some items but not on others, but that's a mystery to me. Whatever. Now, in every single video that I watched, and I watched like a good amount of them, and these are all like between 30 minutes and like an hour and a half long, so I watched a lot, okay? Not a single one mentioned retail profits. They all jumped immediately into recruiting because, as we all know, that's the most lucrative method to making money in an MLM. The way basic profits from product sales work and how it's just blatantly skipped over by every single person pitching Isagenix, that is a huge red flag. Now, I have a video on my channel about the differences between MLMs and pyramid schemes. If you haven't watched it, I recommend that you do. But just to summarize it here, basically, a multi-level marketing falls into the pyramid scheme category based on if you make more money from recruiting than you do from product sales. As I'm sure you're already gathering, that's excessively true for Isagenix, more than any MLM I've ever researched, in fact. Here's where all of the explaining Isagenix compensation plan videos begin. It starts with you as a customer. You sign up with Isagenix, you dabble in the products for a while, you spend all this money doing whatever system, and then you decide you want to take a step into the business opportunity. So you essentially go flip a switch in your back office from being a customer to an associate, which is the first rank. Associate is the first rank. In order to rank up from here, you must start building a team. If you personally enroll 2 members, being either customers or associates, who are generating 100 BV in any given month, that's when you become a consultant and you're now eligible to receive commissions from your downline. BV is business volume. So if that particular member is just a preferred customer, they have to be purchasing enough product to reach that 100 BV in that given month. Now, BV doesn't appear to be based on a dollar amount like I would say most MLMs. It seems more like each individual product has a BV automatically attributed to it. For example, their 9-day system is $140 wholesale or $207.94 retail. So no matter how much your customer spends on it, it's worth 100 BV. So it's not a dollar value, and there doesn't appear to be a rhyme or a reason for it, except for, I guess, Isagenix just trying to keep as much of the profit as they can. Now that we're on the topic of BV, let's talk about how you get paid just for product sales. Now, the FTC actually recommends that if you're being pitched for an MLM, the most important questions to ask whoever's trying to recruit you: can I make money without recruiting people? And how do I receive profits from just selling the products? In most MLMs, it's pretty simple. They give you a percentage of the dollar amount spent. With Isagenix, they give you a percentage of the BV. For example, if you enroll a new customer and they place an order totaling 100 BV, you receive the dollar amount of 10% of the BV, or $10. Even though that customer probably spent $140, they don't give you 10% of that. You get $10 for a $140 sale. That is a 7% commission, which is absolute shit. Even worse if you consider that a customer could have paid retail. You only get $10 for a nearly $208 sale. Another insane example of this would be the highest BV value item that you can get. The Ultimate Weight Loss Pack, retailing at $1,550.15 or $1,098 wholesale, is worth 647 BV.
Hi there, Savannah from the future here. I just want to point out that I made a mistake here while I was recording. There are certain products that have like a random product introduction bonus that isn't the 10%, and this is one of them. So 10% would be $64.70, but here we have that you get $150 for it. So the math would add up to, assuming that whoever bought that from you paid the whole retail price, it would be a 10% commission. So you would get $150 from a $1,550 sale, which still is abysmal. So I just wanted to point that out, but I did overlook this while I was filming.
What even? This is highway robbery. As if this isn't bad enough. The source that I found that lists all of these BVs describes this bonus in this way. Earn a bonus equal to 10% of the BV on new customer initial orders that don't already come with a product introduction bonus. Emphasis on new customer. So if this person orders their first 100 BV order with you and you get that 10% payout, if they follow up next month and want to purchase it again, at that point, do you get nothing? Where is the incentive? Well, I do kind of have an answer for that, but we'll get to it before all you crazy huns start commenting about how wrong I am. All of the compensation plan videos I watched started off by explaining this product introduction bonus, we're gonna call it a PIB, as if the only way to be compensated is to sell a basic, premium, or ultimate pack, each with their own set of BV and subsequent payout amounts. They also like to boast that if you enroll 2 new customers in the same given week, they'll double the PIBs that you receive per purchase. It's also important to remember, however, that PIBs are a one-time thing. You don't continue to make these bonuses off of their future purchases. But what's interesting about Isagenix is that every time you enroll someone, even if they don't sign up to be an associate to sell stuff, even if they're just a customer, they're still considered part of your team. In most MLMs, you gotta like recruit someone to also sell, and then you can put them in your legs on your team. That's not how it is with Isagenix. If you just have a customer, you can still put them in your legs. It's a pretty unique concept, but this also makes it possible to rank up to the second rank without recruiting others to sell at all. As with any other MLM, the real money comes when you start building a team. But even then, the compensation plan is wacky. I'm not gonna go too hardcore into it because it's unlikely that you'll ever build a team that brings in commissions with Isagenix. This video isn't made for the top 1% of people who are in Isagenix who can do that. This is for the people who are trying to learn about the opportunity. But basically, in order to start receiving downline commissions, you have to have 2 personally recruited or enrolled, I guess, customers or associates in your downline, making your 2 legs. One leg has to bring in at least 600 group volume, and the other leg has to bring in at least 300 group volume. When this happens, it cycles. Each cycle is worth about $54, which is insane. So 900 group volume altogether, probably worth a dollar value amount of $1,500 to $2,000 if I had to guess. That will bring you $54. Every time these quotas are met, though, you cycle over and over again, up to 250 times per week, which is a maximum of $13,500 per week, which is a respectable number, don't get me wrong. That's the cap. And I've never heard of an MLM that caps how much commission from product sales you can make. It's like, if you sell more than that, do they just not give you commission at all? What? Now, once you start getting into the higher ranks, there are other bonuses you can get on top of that. Again, they're irrelevant to the audience I'm trying to reach here, and they're unlikely milestones for anyone to reach. There's no point in talking about them here, but if you really want to know more about them, as I keep saying, all my sources are down below. The compensation plan is down below. You can read it for yourself. You can learn about the higher rank bonuses and stuff for yourself. myself. But it's basically the same old stuff that MLMs usually have, like team matching bonuses and recognition programs. Although I don't think they have a car program. I didn't see one, but maybe they do, who knows. With all this information I presented here, in comparison with every other compensation plan I've ever studied or dived into, I have to say that Isagenix is the least lucrative compensation plan I have ever seen. But you also have to remember that what makes an MLM a pyramid scheme is when a distributor makes more money from recruiting than they do from a product sale, and that's where we enter pyramid scheme territory. So Isagenix is treading very close to the edge there. Because as we discussed, there are situations where you may make sales, but you receive no compensation at all. I think Isagenix has set it up in this way in order to encourage enrolling people, which is a red flag. Not only that, but once you have people enrolled underneath you, you don't get commission on their sales until a cycle goes through, unless it was like their first time purchase. You know, remember the PIB is a one-time thing. So after that, all of their purchases, you don't make a commission on that unless you have the 2 legs that go through a cycle. So if your 2 legs only bring in 200 group volume each, like that's too bad. But this just seems like a method for Isagenix not to compensate their associates. You know they have to be profiting a ton if they're not paying out the people who are doing all the work. Meanwhile, Isagenix just sits there and boasts about how their plan goes infinite levels deep. But according to MLMthetruth.com, excessive levels in a downline is another sign participants are expected to sell primarily to their downline rather to the general public. And according to a Reddit user, which I really like this quote because it resonates with me pretty hardcore, the Isagenix compensation plan explicitly violates the fundamental issue with pyramid schemes that you are bound by the population of the earth and the people at the bottom eventually must lose money. I think that's a very factual statement. Without fail, every time I talk about compensation plans, there are people who come in here saying I've got it all wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about, whatever. In that case, I invite you to check out all the sources I've put in the description. There are a lot of them. Let me know if there's anything I may have overlooked. Like I said, I've been doing this for a goddamn month. There's so much. I will say, Isagenix has a lot of documents for their compensation plan outside of the actual compensation plan. I had to do a lot of digging to find a lot of them to make any sense out of a lot of these parts here. There's a lot of information, and meanwhile the Huns just go, oh my god, it's so simple. It's like, well, if it's so simple, then why can't you just fit all the information into one single document? If the compensation plan is 12, 13 pages long all by itself, that's not simple at all. What is simple is you make a sale, you get a percentage of that sale. Isagenix can't even do that. They still don't even compensate their bottom 99% of people well in the first place. My mouth hurts from talking. This is gonna be another long one, guys, and I do apologize, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys as far as Isagenix goes. If you have anything else to add to any of this, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let's have a conversation. But yeah, in conclusion, Isagenix is very pyramid schemey, and I obviously do not recommend that anyone joins it. I do want to give a shout out to my sister who, as I've said before, and she's always been linked in my description the past like few months, she started a cosplay Instagram, but she also started a TikTok. Good for her, because she's doing the things that I never could. So I'm very proud of her, and if you have TikTok, her username I guess is linked down below. Go follow my sister, she's hot. Yeah, I should have mentioned this too. Isagenix is one of the companies that is really playing into the whole like scare tactics of COVID-19 and stuff like that, like what's going on in our country, in our world right now. I just want to make it very clear that when you see any MLM Hun using this time to make sales, first of all, that's very scummy and slimy and gross and disgusting, but just be vigilant, I guess, and maybe help spread the word so that your friends and family don't fall for any of that shit either, because it's just everywhere right now, and Isagenix is one of the companies that the distributors are not being responsible during this time at all. I've been talking so much and I'm like starting to lose my voice. All right, stay safe out there, guys, or in there if you're quarantined. Don't leave your house if you have that option. God, I wish I did. I feel like I had more to say, but I can't think of it, so I guess I'll end this video here. Stay healthy, keep making waves, babes. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.